In the stillness of a quiet moment, there lies a profound strength often overlooked in the clamor of our daily lives. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy born from the minds of thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, invites us to consider silence not as mere absence of sound, but as a powerful tool that guards our inner peace and sharpens our wisdom. Silence, in the Stoic view, is not weakness or surrender. It is a vigilant fortress, a deliberate choice, and our greatest weapon in facing the unpredictable storms of life. At the heart of Stoicism is the recognition that while we cannot always control external events, we retain full mastery over our responses. This distinction between what lies within our power and what does not is the essential foundation upon which silence takes its form. When we choose silence, we no longer scatter our energy on futile battles of words or the restless disturbances of external chaos. Instead, we anchor ourselves in reason, observing the world and our emotions without immediate reaction. This pause, this deliberate withholding of speech, allows us to act with clarity rather than impulsiveness. Imagine for a moment the power of silence in a heated argument or in the face of criticism. The instinct is often to defend, to justify, or to attack back. Yet the Stoic teaches us that such reactions, born from passion rather than reason, seldom bring lasting peace or wisdom. By embracing silence, we create a space between stimulus and response, a space where judgment can be exercised with calm deliberation. It is within this silent gap that reason can thrive and true understanding can emerge. Practicing this form of silence begins not with the refusal to speak, but with the training of the mind to observe before responding. It requires us to cultivate a mindful awareness, recognizing when our impulse to speak arises and choosing instead to hold our tongue. This is no easy feat in a world that prizes immediate expression and relentless opinion sharing. The Stoic path reminds us that wisdom often dwells in restraint. When we resist the urge to fill every silence, we gain control over our inner narrative and protect ourselves from unnecessary suffering caused by rash words. From a psychological perspective, this practice aligns with what modern science tells us about emotional regulation and conflict resolution. Research shows that people who pause before responding are more likely to consider alternative perspectives, reduce impulsive aggression, and communicate more effectively. Silence acts as an emotional buffer, preventing escalation and fostering composure. It serves as a moment for the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thought, to engage, tempering the amygdala's rapid, fear-driven reactions. Through this physiological process, silence becomes not only a moral or philosophical choice, but a natural mechanism for cultivating tranquility and reason. In everyday life, applying this Stoic wisdom can take many forms. Picture yourself receiving harsh feedback or encountering injustice. The initial impulse might be anger or defensiveness, but by choosing silence, you deny those emotions the opportunity to dictate your actions. Instead, you listen carefully, absorb the situation, and respond when your words carry the weight of thoughtfulness rather than passion. In social settings, silence can be a form of power, allowing you to observe dynamics clearly and speak only when your voice can guide or uplift rather than inflame. It is a shield against manipulation and a way to preserve your dignity. Yet silence can be misused or misunderstood. Some may fall into silence as avoidance, suppressing necessary communication or connection. Others might wield silence as a weapon of control in unhealthy ways, withholding dialogue to punish or dominate. The Stoic approach teaches us that true silence is neither passive nor aggressive. It is active restraint, chosen for the good of the soul and the betterment of relationships. It is a silence born of wisdom, not fear or ego. In embracing silence as our greatest weapon, we do not renounce the world or our role within it. Instead, we engage more deeply and authentically, armed with patience, discernment, and an unshakable calm. We become like the ancient oak standing firm in the storm, rooted not in prideful noise, but in steadfast quietude. The less we are compelled to fill every void with words, the more our presence itself becomes a source of strength. Let us remember, then, that in silence there is no absence, but a profound presence, not a retreat, but a strategic advance. Through silence, the Stoic mind finds freedom from distraction and attachment, cultivating a space where wisdom grows and the soul is guarded. As you navigate the complexities of life, may you harness this quiet power, transforming silence from emptiness into an unassailable fortress. In this stillness, discover not solitude, but sovereignty, the mastery of self that stands unbroken against the tumult of the world. There is a quiet strength found in the heart of a Stoic mind, a strength forged not in arrogance, but in profound self-mastery and serenity. The Stoics teach us that true power lies not in pleading for what we desire, frantically pursuing what slips through our fingers, or endlessly justifying ourselves to others. Instead, they show that a mind rooted in reason and virtue moves with calm resolve, embracing what is within its control and relinquishing attachment to what is not. In this way, a Stoic mind neither begs, chases, nor explains. This principle may at first seem austere, perhaps even cold to the modern ear, yet it is deeply humane. To beg is to surrender one's dignity, placing our peace in the hands of forces beyond our sway. To chase is to awaken restless craving, tethering our happiness to uncertain outcomes and fleeting appearances. To explain, especially when motivated by anxiety or self-defense, often dissipates our energy and clouds our clarity, drawing us into endless echoes of justification. The Stoics, in their wisdom, understood that such acts betray a mind enslaved rather than free. To embody this principle, we begin by cultivating an inner distinction between what we control and what we do not, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Our thoughts, attitudes, actions are within our power. The opinions of others, fortune's whims, and external circumstances are not. When faced with desires or disappointments, rather than pleading for change, the Stoic reflects calmly, is this within my control? If not, why disturb my tranquility over it? This reflection fosters acceptance, not resignation, a serene alignment with reality rather than futile resistance. Next, consider the urge to chase what seems to escape us, whether that be approval, success, or security. The Stoics advise a reorientation of values. Instead of pursuing these externals, focus on cultivating virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. A mind fixated on the essence of character and reason finds no hunger in chasing shadows. It walks its path steadily, understanding that fulfillment dwells not in the possession of externals, but in the integrity with which one lives each moment. Finally, the impulse to explain, especially in defense of ourselves, can stem from a fear of judgment or rejection. Yet continuous explanation may entangle us in webs of misunderstanding or drain our inner resources. The Stoics recommend that when explanation serves reason and clarity, it be concise and grounded in truth. But when it arises from insecurity, it is wiser to remain silent, trusting that honest character needs no elaborate defense. From a modern psychological perspective, this Stoic approach aligns with principles of emotional regulation and cognitive behavioral therapy. By distinguishing controllable from uncontrollable factors, individuals reduce anxiety and obsessive rumination. Accepting reality lessens the emotional burden, while cultivating inner values over external validation fortifies resilience. Refraining from compulsive explanation prevents social exhaustion and nurtures self-respect. Neuroscientifically, such disciplined mental habits cultivate neural pathways favoring calmness, focus, and adaptive coping. In daily life, this means when a relationship falters, a Stoic does not plead desperately for affection lost, nor chase after acceptance, nor exhaust themselves in explanations. Instead, they reflect on what is within their power, their actions, intentions, and attitudes, and find peace in that. When faced with career setbacks, the Stoic neither begs for favors nor stretches themselves thin in the pursuit of prestige, nor offers justifications for failure. They strive quietly to improve within their control and embrace outcomes with equanimity. Yet we must also be mindful of common misunderstandings. Some may mistake this attitude for coldness or passivity. On the contrary, a Stoic mind is deeply engaged with life, but anchored in clear reason and steadfast virtue. It is not prideful nor indifferent. It is self-assured in its values and patient in its actions. Another error lies in assuming no explanation means no communication. The Stoics saw wisdom in measured words, chosen not to justify but to illuminate when necessary. As we close this reflection, let us consider how startlingly freeing it is to live without begging, chasing, or over-explaining. Such restraint nurtures an inner fortress, impervious to the tempests of fortune and opinion. It calls forth a dignity born not of circumstance, but of conscious choice and reasoned will. In this cultivated stillness, the Stoic mind finds a rare treasure, a freedom that cannot be taken, a peace unshaken by the world's shifting tides. May we, too, learn to embody this wisdom. May our minds hold steady like the ancient oak, deeply rooted and unshaken by passing storms. Let us silence the restless pleas, release the endless pursuit, and trust in the quiet power of a life lived with intention and virtue. In this, we discover not only strength, but profound tranquility, the very heart of Stoic freedom. In the quiet corners of our minds, there lies a fortress, unyielding, serene, and resilient. This fortress is built not of stone or steel, but of discipline, cultivated through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. It is this inner discipline that makes the wounds inflicted by others, especially those born of weakness, fade like shadows at dawn. To understand why weak people cannot truly hurt us, we must first look inward and grasp the essence of Stoic discipline. At the heart of Stoic teaching is the recognition of what lies within our control and what does not. External events, other people's opinions, actions, and provocations, all these are beyond our governance. What we do control is our own response, the steadfastness of our will, the clarity of our judgment. This separation is not mere intellectual exercise. It is a profound practice of freedom. For when we anchor ourselves in discipline, we cease to be tossed like leaves on stormy winds. We become immovable. Imagine an insult flung your way, a slight meant to unsettle or demean. To the undisciplined mind, this can feel like a wound, a poison seeping deep. But the Stoic, who has trained the mind to discern and detach, sees differently. The insult is merely noise, a reflection of another's inner turmoil, not a truth about oneself. It holds no power unless we grant it. This is not arrogance, but clarity. Discipline to restrain immediate emotional reactions, to observe rather than absorb, renders the hurt impotent. The practice of this discipline begins each morning, in the quiet moments before the day's demands rush in. Reflect on what you can control, your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, and what you must leave to fate's domain. Throughout the day, recall this distinction. When confronted with rudeness, envy, or cruelty, pause. Breathe. Choose your response rather than reacting impulsively. Recognize that the source of such negativity often arises from weakness, fear, insecurity, pain that seeks expression outward. This recognition is crucial. Weakness in this sense is not an insult, but an acknowledgement of human frailty. When we understand that the person who attempts to hurt us is themselves trapped by internal struggles, we cultivate compassion rather than fury or hurt. Compassion is an extension of discipline. It does not soften resolve, but deepens it. The strong are not hardened by bitterness, but tempered by understanding. Psychologically, this Stoic approach aligns with what modern science tells us about emotional regulation and resilience. Neuroscience reveals that when we train ourselves to reframe perceptions, to appraise events not as threats, but as challenges, we engage the prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason, over the amygdala, the seat of fear and anger. This rewiring reduces stress responses and fortifies our mental endurance. In essence, discipline rewires the brain to resist being hijacked by external negativity. Applied in daily life, this discipline manifests in countless ways. At work, when a colleague undermines or gossips, the disciplined mind refrains from retaliation or spiraling self-doubt. Instead, it acknowledges the act but refuses to internalize it. In relationships, when a loved one is unkind or distant, discipline encourages patience and reflection rather than reactive bitterness. Even in moments of public humiliation or failure, the Stoic remembers that true character is seen in how one maintains composure and purpose, not in unguarded emotions. However, it is easy to falter. Many mistakes spring from misunderstanding discipline as suppression of feeling or denial of experience. Stoicism does not ask us to become unfeeling statues, but mindful warriors, feeling deeply yet responding with wisdom. Another common error is allowing discipline to turn into cold detachment, isolating oneself from connection and vulnerability. The balance lies in embracing discipline as a path to inner freedom, not emotional numbness. In closing, let us turn once more to that inner fortress. It is built stone by stone through daily practice, reflection, and self-mastery. It is why the arrows shot by weak hands fail to pierce our core. When discipline governs our minds, we stand apart from the chaos of others' weakness. We find strength not in dominance, but in serenity, not in avoidance, but in presence. Through Stoic discipline, we realize that the only true power lies within, and no weakness outside can ever truly harm us. In this enduring calm, we become unshakable, whole and free. In the quiet moments of our existence, when the noise of the world fades, a profound question often arises. Why do so many stumble and falter in the pursuit of a life well lived? The ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers a somber yet illuminating perspective on this very inquiry, revealing that much of what we call failure stems not from external hardships alone, but from a misunderstanding of what is truly within our control. At the heart of Stoic wisdom lies a clear distinction between what we can influence and what lies beyond our grasp. The Stoics believed that most people, in their struggle to succeed, err by fixating on external outcomes, wealth, fame, approval, things inherently uncertain and fickle. This misplaced attachment breeds anxiety, disappointment, and ultimately, a sense of failure when those externals inevitably shift or elude grasp. Thus, Stoicism teaches us that to fail is often to mistake the nature of genuine success. To embody this understanding, one must embark on a deliberate practice that reshapes how we respond to life's challenges. It begins with a daily examination of what lies within our power, our thoughts, judgments, desires, and actions. Instead of chasing uncontrollable results, we learn to cultivate an inner citadel of virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance that remains unshaken regardless of fortune's favor. This requires a vigilant moderation of expectations, a steady gaze inward rather than outward, and a profound acceptance that our peace depends not on changing the world, but on mastering ourselves. Psychology today echoes the Stoic insight. Research into locus of control reveals that those who believe they govern their own actions and attitudes display greater resilience and well-being than those who perceive life as a series of external forces shaping their fate. By focusing on internal control, individuals maintain motivation and composure, even amidst adversity, thereby escaping the paralysis of hopelessness that can lead to failure. The Stoic practice of mindfulness and emotional regulation aligns closely with these findings, suggesting that ancient wisdom remains remarkably relevant. In our daily lives, this Stoic lens transforms how we approach success and failure. When a career ambition falters, instead of despairing over lost status or income, one can reflect on the effort, integrity, and growth cultivated through the endeavor. When relationships strain, the focus shifts from demanding change in others to fostering patience and kindness within oneself. However, common pitfalls arise when individuals cling stubbornly to outcomes or confuse fleeting pleasures with enduring good. The failure is not in the external setback itself, but in surrendering one's tranquility to it. Consider the example of a student who fails an exam. The initial disappointment is natural, yet if they hinge their self-worth solely on the grade, despair may take root. A Stoic approach encourages them to recognize that the exam result is outside their full control once the test is completed. What remains theirs is the attitude they choose to adopt, learning from the mistake, recommitting to study, maintaining equanimity. Similarly, an entrepreneur facing business loss might find solace not in lamenting circumstances, but in the unwavering commitment to do right by their customers and to persevere with integrity. In closing, the Stoic perspective gently pulls us away from the illusions that beguile most in life, the mistaken belief that happiness and success depend on external conditions, and guides us toward the tranquil strength that arises from self-mastery. To fail in the Stoic sense is to surrender to passion, to yield control over what we can command, and to lose sight of virtue's enduring flame. Yet within this ancient teaching lies a quiet assurance. The vast majority need not fail because failure is redefined. True success is the unassailable peace of mind born from living in accordance with reason and virtue, a state accessible to all who turn their gaze inward and cultivate the art of living well. In the vast unfolding of life, where chaos reigns and fortunes shift like waves, Stoicism offers a steadfast beacon, not a promise of worldly triumph, but a call to cultivate an inner citadel where true victory resides. This is the wisdom that embraces failure as no more than a teacher, humility as a companion, and reason as the guide leading us beyond the common fate of those who lose themselves in what they cannot control. To understand this is to glimpse the path few take, yet all can follow toward a life not defined by failure, but distinguished by enduring strength and calm. There is a quiet forge, hidden deep within each soul, where true strength is tempered, not in the clamor of the crowd, nor in the spotlight of praise, but in the solitude of our own trials. The ancient Stoics understood this intimately. They taught that the strength which sustains us through life's storms is not given but earned, pressed slowly and patiently, like iron shaped by relentless fire and unyielding hammer. It is built alone, in pain and in silence. To grasp this is to glimpse a profound truth. Resilience is born not from comfort or convenience, but from embracing discomfort and embracing it deeply, without complaint or distraction. In the vast theater of human existence, noise and company are often seen as signs of vitality. Yet the Stoics invite us inward, urging us to face ourselves unflinchingly. The idea here is not withdrawal from the world as a form of escapism, but purposeful solitude, a voluntary retreat where we encounter our vulnerabilities without disguise. Solitude sharpens the mind. It strips away the distractions that dull our sight, leaving us bare before the essential self. It is in this moment of solitude that one can cultivate an unshakable core. Pain, likewise, is not some cruel enemy to be avoided, but a transformative companion on the path to mastery. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that the obstacle on his path was the path itself. Enduring hardship, whether physical discomfort, emotional distress, or moral challenge, trains the spirit much as the body is strengthened by exertion. Pain acts as the whetstone on which patience, endurance, and fortitude are honed. It demands that we cultivate equanimity, a calm acceptance of what is beyond our control, and the courage to act rightly regardless. Silence, then, is the final piece, not merely the absence of sound, but a deeper stillness of the mind. It is in silence that we come to hear the subtle voice of reason and virtue, that inner guide the Stoics treasured above all else. Modern life assaults us with endless noise and distraction, but true strength comes from engaging with the quietness inside, allowing wisdom and clarity to emerge without interference. To live this reality is a practice, a continual turning inward amidst the noise and demands of the world. Each day presents an occasion to sit with ourselves honestly, in moments of reflection, journaling, or meditation. When discomfort arises, instead of fleeing, we hold ourselves with thoughtful attention, asking what this trial might teach us. The process is gradual and often solitary, recognizing that no external comfort can substitute for the strength built through patient endurance. Psychologically, this practice has profound effects. Modern science confirms that facing challenges head-on, particularly in a mindful and deliberate way, fosters resilience. This resilience is not merely about toughness, but about flexibility and growth. Enduring pain without surrender activates neural pathways that enhance emotional regulation and self-control. Similarly, moments of silence and solitude reduce the cortisol levels related to stress, allowing reasoned judgments rather than reactive impulses to prevail. In this way, Stoic wisdom predates, but aligns elegantly with contemporary understandings of human psychology. Yet many falter in this journey because they seek immediate relief from pain or depend on external affirmations. A common mistake is to surround oneself with noise and distraction to avoid the discomfort of solitude. Another is misunderstanding silence as weakness or emptiness, rather than seeing it as fertile ground for inner growth. People often crave companionship and reassurance, which is natural, but neglect the deeper, sometimes harsh, teacher of solitude. True Stoic strength demands an acceptance that some battles are fought within, unseen and uncheered. Consider the soldier preparing in quiet barracks before battle, the philosopher contemplating his thoughts alone by candlelight, or the entrepreneur facing the solitude of failure and doubt. Their strength is not born from applause or comfort, but from the silent hours that precede visible triumph. In daily life, this might look like sitting with difficult emotions without running away, confronting one's mistakes without excuse, or persisting in a worthy task despite feeling unnoticed or discouraged. It is in these small, steady acts that the foundation of endurance is laid. As we embrace this path, we develop an inner citadel, a realm untouched by fortune's changing tides. Our power becomes self-sustained, independent of external validation or circumstances. This does not isolate us from others, but instead connects us more deeply. For those who have cultivated strength in silence and pain, can offer presence and wisdom that transient pleasures can never provide. In the quiet moments, when no one watches and suffering is faced alone, true Stoic strength forms. It is a strength not loud or brash, but calm, stoic, and enduring. It is forged in the absence of distraction, shaped by the embrace of pain, and solidified in the profound silence where reason and virtue dwell. To seek it is to accept life's difficulties as the very means by which we grow inwardly unbreakable. So let us pause, withdraw gently into ourselves when the world grows loud and unbearable. Let us welcome discomfort as a teacher and not flee from solitude as a void. In doing so, we find the essence of Stoic endurance, a strength not dependent on circumstance, but blossoming quietly, alone, in pain, and in silence. It is here, in this quiet forge of the soul, that the true art of living is mastered.